My name is Steve Beauchamp, and I want to thank you for joining me for today on how to get more done in less time. I think a lot of us would agree that at the end of the week, all of us would love to have more time available to us, or most of us might be thinking that. And, I'm here to tell you that you can have more time available to you at the end of the week. It's all about how you perceive your time, how you use it, and how you really set yourself up for being able to use your time really well. And we're going to talk about that today. Oftentimes we think that, different tasks or activities are going to take a lot longer to achieve than they might actually take. And, this is because we have this belief that, time is, just attached to things. Well, time is relative, right? And we can collapse time if we really stop and think about it. That, things are going to take longer than they really do to achieve, and oftentimes they will take that amount of time. And that's because of our mindset as we approach things. And what I'm proposing is that if you really start thinking about your activities in a little bit different way, you're going to start seeing a dramatic result in how you're able to achieve those things. So the first thing that I want to talk to you about is something called Parkinson's law. And if you've never heard about this before, basically the premise is that supply will always rise to meet demand. And this is, shown throughout the world in a lot of different ways. But how this really kind of breaks down into a practical sense for you is that let's say you historically have allocated an hour for a particular meeting. And so that's just the way you've always done it. So when you craft your agenda, in terms of like what you hope to achieve in that meeting, it's always going to take an hour, right? No matter what. Even if your agenda doesn't fill the whole hour, miraculously, something will happen and you'll fill the hour anyway. And so what happened if you decided, hey, I'm going to make this a 30-minute meeting instead? You'd be surprised to learn that you can still get all the results that you hope to achieve by shortening it to 30 minutes, because you're going to be more laser focused on what's important. The conversations that you're going to have in those meetings are really going to be centered around the outcomes and results that you really want to get out of that time. And you'll be surprised to learn that you'll actually be able to do that. Now, the other thing that you can start thinking about as this relates to your time is, you remember back when you were in school and a professor, gave you, say, 3 months to complete a project. When did you start working on it? It was probably like a couple of weeks before it was due, right? And that's because you're not attaching any importance to it when you have that much time available. So what would happen, instead of waiting that long, you could just say to yourself, I'm going to give myself a week to accomplish this. Whether or not it takes somebody else 3 months or 6 months, doesn't matter. I want to get this done in 1 week. You'd be surprised to learn that if you actually set that out for yourself, that you could probably start achieving things that you never thought you were able to achieve. And that's because when you do that, your brain will start thinking of more creative ways, some different ways, some outside of the box thinking, in order to achieve the result that you really want to get. Because your brain doesn't, it doesn't really decide what's good or bad, what's right or wrong. You're the one that attaches that meaning to it. And so if you decide, hey, this is what I want to do, I believe that this is what I can do, you're going to be able to do it. Henry Ford once said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So if this is resonating with you, consider subscribing to the channel. I'd really appreciate the follow. Also consider sharing this video with others in your network so that we might be able to get this message out to the masses. I'll be talking about these types of topics more and more every week as I release new videos. And all of my videos that I'll be releasing will really relate to the 5 pillars that I believe are critical to be able to engineer the results that you want and be able to give you the time freedom that you so deserve in your business and your life. And so, pillar number 1 is all about using smaller time blocks. Pillar number 2 is all about balancing your time. Pillar number 3 is all about removing unwanted daily activities. And number 4 is enforcing a routine for yourself. And number 5 is all about practicing discipline. Okay, so now that you started thinking, it's like, all right, so my mindset is starting to, perhaps look for different alternatives. Maybe I can do some things differently. But I think the first thing you really need to figure out is how much time are you actually spending on different things. And there's been a couple of studies done by some folks out in the personal development world. They go and do seminars and whatnot, or they used to do those types of seminars. They would poll the room and find out that most people were pretty embarrassed to report on what they actually were able to achieve in 1 month. And so you could take that challenge, take the next 30 days and log everything that you do and where your time is going. And when you get to the end of that month, review it and say, oh, okay, so this is where all my time went. You can use a tool like Toggle. It's a really helpful time tracking tool. You simply just turn on the timer while you're working and turn it off when you're finished. And you can just continue to log how much time you're spending on different things. And you'll be surprised to learn that when you do that, that you'll be able to start seeing where the time is going. I think having visual representations of things becomes very important in really being able to make it real to you. When it's just kind of out in the air or up in your head, it becomes really challenging for your brain to be able to really make that connection. And so using a tool like Toggle will allow you to be able to kind of see it for what it is. Now, I should let you know, I do not get any kickbacks from Toggle at all. I just think it's a great tool. So, drop a like or a comment, or, again, consider sharing this video in your network. I'd really appreciate, the visibility that this video can get. Okay, so we've talked about mindset around, supply versus demand. We've talked about tracking your time. Now it's time to actually put this into action. So think about, okay, of all of the things that you tracked your time on, what things can you start experimenting with? So if something normally takes you an hour, really think about it and say, okay, what would it take for me to be able to do this in half an hour? What would this take for me to not do it at all? Maybe somebody else can do it for me. So then you get an entire hour back. Really start being critical about the things that you're doing. And just because at the moment you can't really figure out, well, I'm not really sure how to navigate through that. Don't tell yourself that you can't do it. Just tell yourself, I don't know how to do this yet, and I need to find out. And that's when you just start asking more questions. Stay curious about how you can really change the conditions of your weekly routine. You have the power to be able to do that, nobody else. And so, really challenge yourself. If you truly want more time available to yourself at the end of the week, you have to start thinking about your time differently. You have to start doing things differently. And it's all about using a smaller time block. One of my favorite tools for being able to start utilizing smaller time blocks is the Pomodoro Technique. And there's a link to that video in the description that I've posted a little bit ago. And that particular technique is very helpful in really being able to dial in your concentration, because a lot of times distraction actually makes things take longer. And also that distraction increases your stress level. And so if you're allowing distraction to come in, if you're allowing yourself to get, sidetracked, that's what's taking so long on certain things, right? So if you really start dialing in, I highly recommend trying the Pomodoro Technique. And I guarantee that you'll start seeing changes in your results in a very short amount of time. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you on the next one.